Welcome again to our family meeting. It's a pleasure to be here. I personally feel honored to be talking to my pastor and my deacon on a one-on-one. But before we proceed, I know we're going to talk about community and church. This is a safe space. I want everybody to come with an open heart, and because we're going to learn a lot from our leaders. So the first thing I just want to know, Sir PL, um, so if you went to a new church, not Crosspoint Church, um, who do you think, let's say this team went to a new church, who do you think would be the first person to run away after service, you or your neighbor? Out of shyness. I mean,
My neighbor here.
this is your neighbor too.
I really don't know. I can only speak for myself.
Okay, so would you talk to anybody? Would you talk to anybody?
I don't know the level of shyness that exists between both of us, but I think I'm introverted normally. So
Right.
if I wasn't a pastor and I didn't have to do this, I'd rather not, right? So speaking for myself, I'll judge myself, so I don't judge others. So I'll be the first to run away, even as a lead pastor.
I believe
What
I
about you,
agree.
Toby?
I agree that
You would also
no,
run
I
away.
believe I agree that pastor will be the first to run away.
Okay.
Judging me.
Okay. So that's great. I can also relate to what they have said. And that's why we're going to be talking about community. We would all agree that community is a very big part of being believers, and it can be a big blessing. However, we would also all agree that there are challenges that can come up in the process of trying to blend in or trying to be a part of a church community. And that's why, like I said, we're going to be doing something special. We're going to be going through certain real life scenarios that would help us all relate to the challenges of being a community member, as well as also help us learn on, should I say, strategies on how to be an effective community member in a church like ours. So, are we ready? Okay, great. Let's dive in. All right. So, I have a number of scenarios, Deaconess Toby, and this first question is for you. So, it's not a question. I'm going to be telling a story from the perspective of someone that has gone through it, and I really want you to tell me what you think about it, right? So, this is the first message. I've been attending my church for a while now, but honestly, I struggle to connect. I'm naturally shy, so every Sunday I just sleep in quietly, sit at the back, and leave as soon as service ends. I see people chatting, laughing, and forming friendships, but I never know how to join in. And sometimes I even rehearse what I'd say if I had introduced myself, but when the moment comes, I freeze. Deep down, I want to be part of the family and not just a face in the crowd, but I don't know how to break through my shyness. What would you do?
Okay. First of all, it's very nice to be on the receiving end this time and asking the questions. So I think this is a bit personal to me because I grew up shy actually, and sometimes it still pops up. But as an adult, you can't be shy. You won't make it in life being shy generally. So, and yes, you can't. So, and I know that one of the things that will not make you shy as an adult is when you start work. I mean, you need to ask people, where is the toilet? Where do I eat my food? Where can I buy food? What do I do? What do I wear? So you end up having to talk to other human beings, and you see that you can't go far if you keep being shy. So if I bring it back to church, I would say that adulthood will force you to work with human beings so you can't be shy. So you have to if you want, because I see that the person has a desire to be plugged in and be connected to a family. So if you really want that, then you have to, one of the fastest way to overcome shyness in church is to join a department because you have to talk to people. Like, okay, if you join the department and you say, I don't know, I freeze when I ask what am I to do, or I freeze when I This ask me what did I do and all those type of things. So you are forced to communicate with people, and you are forced to. I mean, before the economy got really bad, okay, we shouldn't be negative. Before things, yeah, we used to go out together, teams in church, we go and eat out and all those things. Those things are not happening again. Yeah, we are, we are, what's to happen? If you join hospitality, we're not going to, you know, we might, but I'm just saying. So, but because of that, you have to hang out with people. You have to talk to people, and you feel more comfortable. Because I know the thing about shyness is when there's a lot of crowd, shy people are more comfortable when it's smaller and intimate. So I would say the biggest solution and the fastest solution to that is to plug yourself into it. Obviously, a team that you can be very useful in, like if you can't sing, don't join the choir and all this type of thing. But any team really, it will really help you. I wouldn't say pray for encouragement and courage and all those things, because it will just make it worse. The fact that you're praying that you don't want to be shy, you just be thinking more about it. But my solution to that is to join a team as fast as possible, and
Yes.
you will grow a community from there.
I completely agree with what she said because based off of my own personal experience, I was coming from a church, a large church where I was an online member. And how I found Crosspoint Church, I didn't just run into Crosspoint Church. I was very intentional about finding a church that was close to me where I could be a member of the community. Yes. So when I found Crosspoint Church and I started going to Crosspoint Church, for me, I had a strategy. So maybe because I'm also a very shy person. So maybe if you're a shy person, you just need to be strategic about it. I knew I wanted to serve, and once I joined, I made it known. I think Toby was the first person that I really developed a relationship with in Crosspoint Church, and I decided to serve in the hospitality department. And I can, from there, I feel like my closest friends in life are in this church. So I feel like service, and I agree with her, is one of the major ways to become a part of the community. Thank you. And to also add to it, truly, you cannot you cannot get through life by being shy. If not, you would most likely get hurt. You would most likely, I don't know. So yes, let me just go to the second scenario, and this is for
Sorry,
female.
let me just add quickly there.
Okay.
I think that first of all, there's the part of temperaments. Certain people are introverted, certain are extroverted. Sometimes, you know, psychologists and people who study these things, you have some people who move to zodiac sign and all those kinds of things that deal with. I don't want to go there because that becomes a little bit more complicated. But I think in the church, we are always more practical as a church.
Right.
We believe in the wisdom of God. We believe in the practicality of life. Um, Whatever thing is holding you back from fulfilling God's plan and being fruitful, you should be able to deal with it. That's just what it is, right?
Right.
So it could be shyness, it could be. So if I need to be bold, if I need to, do certain things to progress as an adult,
Yes.
it's just what I have to do. You don't, you know, just wish things go away. You have to be practical about life. So if I realize that, yes, I can be introverted, but there are certain things I need to do to progress, it's just what I have to do, and I make that move. And yes, I mean, when we say don't pray, it's not like you can pray about it. Paul told Timothy, you can pray in tongues, but that tongue should lead to specific actions.
Thank you. Thank you for that, sir. So the next scenario is about church hurt. And this person goes, at my last church, I experienced hurt that cut deeply. I have been serving faithfully and giving a lot of my time, but things went south. And instead of open conversation, I felt judged and sidelined. Soon, people I thought were friends began to distance themselves, and it left me feeling betrayed after all I had poured in. No one reached out when I stopped attending, and the silence made the wound even deeper. Now, at my new church, I keep my distance. Anytime people talk about community or church family, I feel guarded because I don't want to be wounded again. Now, this is a very sensitive one, and I'll have PL, respond to that. So, PL, what would you do?
This one is a sermon on, because the concept of betrayal and hurt is quite wide. And as we become adults, we experience it in church, in breakfast, with, I mean, relationships, romantic relationships, and so on and so forth. So there really is a wise way of addressing this issue. So first of all, let's start with church. In my experience, I mean, I started off ministry in university. I was also an associate pastor too, as well, in a church. And I've been hurt also, right? As at one point in time when I left the church I used to be, once I see them, I don't need to, research that, but once I see them, they don't say hello to me, right? So, I mean, it was in Unilag, I'll see them and maybe want to hug, and they just turn their face, right? And they had scriptures to back it up, why they were doing that. And as I began to mature, I realized that some didn't know better, one. And the other part was sometimes we always talk about church hurt from the membership. So the members are hurt that somebody did this to them. But the leadership also have been hurt by members, so it's not only one way. So sometimes, first of all, when you say you are hurt, realize that I always say this: pain plus reflection equals progress, right? God can always use painful situations in our lives. I'm not saying that he always does, but the point is that you can overcome every painful situation. And painful situations will occur as an adult, right? So, first of all, you shouldn't, I think believers have some extreme expectations that they have concerning what, people like, once you come, people will just rub your head, give you gifts. Nobody will say anything bad to you. They'll just be checking on you. That concept of when you leave a church, you expect the pastor to be calling you. How many people can everybody call? So we too must mature. I'm not saying hurt doesn't exist, but we must mature in how we deal with this hurt. Then the other part which we always share is that you must also take responsibility. The Bible says that live life with understanding because we are living in evil times. You too that saw the thing that you saw the behavior of the pastor, you went there. You also saw everything that was happening, and you still, I will say in pidgin, but there's a pigeon that wants to come out of me. You put yourself in that situation. You knew what was the intent, because I've realized that a lot of times people know what they are doing too. They have an ulterior motive. You now go there, you are now hurt by what you also knew was not really good, then you are now blaming. So you must be wise. Wise in the sense that do your due diligence. Look at some basic things of life. If you sense genuity, if you sense good intent, then plug yourself into it. If you also have ulterior motives and you enter a church and they hit you, then just know that all of us are, so everybody is playing the thing together. So I know that sometimes people just want to hear, oh, this church, we don't hurt anybody. But the truth is, it takes maturity to stay anywhere for a long time. It takes maturity. So you have to be able to be wise, and in your decision making, before you make that decision of the church to attend, do your due diligence, listen to the message. Are they preaching Christ? Is the person or the leadership, do they have a good intent? And I'm not saying you should listen to gossip, but then when you've now entered, realize that you shouldn't have unrealistic expectations from people, and you should be able to say, even if you were hurt by someone else, you give some room for healing and don't take vengeance. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Good that you have mentioned managing expectations, because the next scenario I want to talk about has to do with that. And this person says, I was away from church for 2 weeks because I wasn't feeling well. In all that time, nobody reached out, not a text, not a call. When I finally returned, the greetings I got felt shallow, like no one even noticed I had been gone. It made me feel invisible, and I started wondering, do I really matter here? Part of me wants to stop coming as often, since it seems no one will notice anyway. But another part of me asks, am I being too sensitive, or am I expecting too much? Deaconess Toby, please take that for us. What would you do?
So, for somebody who has been doing this hospitality thing for a while now, we get this a lot.
Right.
Personal example, someone reached out to me one day and said that they didn't come to church and I didn't check on them. I was like, oh, I was actually not in church too. So I didn't know you were not in church. They were like, oh, what happened to you? I was like, oh, I was at work. What happened to you? Oh, I was at work. I was like, all right. See? So, yeah, I like the word managing your expectations. So perfection does not exist. And people need to know that, as we go back again to say that we are all adults. And yeah, it's okay to want to feel, seen and noticed and all those type of things. That's why we are saying we need a community, because we have been built to be connected to people. So when people don't want to be connected to us, it's normal. Yeah, very normal to feel that hurt. But I think we need to give ourselves some grace too. And, sometimes I understand why people preach some messages, because they will say, you too, that you don't pray for a long time, and you say you're in a relationship with God. Is it good? Right? Like, obviously, God doesn't have emotions, but they'll tell you that God too is feeling bad that you're not checking on him. So we're very, and it's so you need to manage your expectation and not be too self-centered, and understand that life is happening to everybody. Sometimes I remember that there is Crosspoint Church maybe on Saturday, because what has happened that week is not Crosspoint Church, is another part of my life. So there is a big chunk of my life in every way. And we try, obviously, thank God we have midweek. So sometimes we wake up again and remember that we still have a church. And morning prayers, just remember, yes. But life happens, different things are happening. That same person that didn't check on you might be going through something, but just knows how to put it together, right? So I know that as a church, we have a responsibility to be welcoming and to make you feel comfortable, because it's like our house. So when you come, you should feel comfortable. But I think the key word there is that you need to manage your expectations and know the intent. We always talk about intent. If people create a space for you, there are chairs, there's AC, somebody prepared a whole sermon to teach you. Sometimes you come outside, you eat cake, you drink. It shows that there's an intent to be kind to you and do our best. So you should be able to manage that. People are not just, I don't care, if you like, don't come. Sometimes people actually see that you didn't come. It's not, and it's very tough, because you're just looking at yourself, but you're not looking at what is going on. I've come to church in tough situations where things are not great. And, I have to smile, I have to hug people, I have to greet and everything. I'm not saying you have to understand that, but you need to understand that life is happening for everybody. And we're very young adults here. We're not retired. So it's retired people that are remembering things during the week, like, oh, I know this person in church, all these things. But we are actively doing things, to grow our future and everything. So we need to give ourselves grace. And I think the last thing I will say concerning that is that it's also okay to communicate your expectations too. Sometimes people don't know, and you have to do that with kindness too, and just say, okay, yeah. I mean, the person told me that, oh, you didn't see me, so I understood where the person was coming from. Like, not to me in church, he's not greeting me well. I was like, okay, so what really happened? We now said I was just work and everything, and we discussed about it. So communicate. If it's really bothering you and it's making you feel like I don't feel plugged in, or I don't think these people love me. So I think when you now communicate and they now say, is that why you're not? I beg. Then you can now raise an alarm that, okay, this is a bad church. But generally, just look at the intent, the message, what people are doing, the sacrifices that people are putting into making things happen. So you come here and you're comfortable and you hear the word of God. And from there, it starts to make your heart know that these things are not intentional, but they're just what it is generally.
Thank you for that, Stickiness Show. I think for me, I also noted the fact that you had said it's the intent that matters, it's the heart posture that matters. And there's something that I try to live my life by, and that's the fact that you should judge yourself by your actions and judge other people by their intentions. So don't judge yourself by your intentions, judge yourself by your actions, and then you judge other people by their intentions. So we are a family of loving people. Our intentions are always right. And if you have any reservations, you can state them, but state them in a loving and in a productive way, right? So the next scenario I'm about to read is a sensitive one, a bit of a sensitive one, and I will be directing it to PL. So this person says, sometimes I feel like my church doesn't give me the spiritual depth that I'm craving. I long for moments of prayer, laying on of hands, even seasons of dry fasting and revival. Instead, service feels routine. Just worship, sermon, announcements, and we go home. Because of that, I've thought maybe I don't even need to come physically. I can just watch sermons online and do my own fasting and prayers on my own. But I'm torn because I know church isn't just about me, it's about community too. What would you do?
That shouldn't come to me. That question, really, I guess, but it has come. I think again, I'm a preacher, so I have to go back to the core of what we do, right? The model of the message of Christ is a model of selflessness, right? You can't enjoy this gospel if you are not selfless, right? Jesus is showing us the example in washing the feet of others. So I'm linking the previous question to this, right? If the heart posture is wrong, the Bible talks about prayer that you pray amiss. And praying amiss means you have a wrong intent. Man looks at the outward. We always say that's fine. Outward is good. Keep yourself, because God is not, you are working with man. So look good, smell good, do whatever to make you feel or look good outside. But God looks at your heart. So intent, because even in the Bible, when the Bible says that you can give your body to be burned, but you still don't have love. So he's saying, what was your intent? The Bible also talks about how people will go out and pray in the streets so people will know that you are Papa. So you really need to understand, I really believe that authenticity and intentions are spiritual weapons, and that's what is lacking. I was listening in a conference, I think it was the MBA conference where I spoke, and a particular person on the team who was talking about raising finance, he says that people actually want to give money, but they can't find credible people sometimes, or the way that maybe a part of maybe Nigerians, not everyone, but the image that Nigerians have painted has created a bias, and where they can't find credible people, and it paints it across a lot of us, and we suffer for it sometimes just holding the green passport. But things are getting better. And so if you can be authentic, it may take long because sometimes we think short term, but eventually it pays off. So selflessness, authenticity, it will attract the right relationships in your life. Because many times people get into wrong relationships, have wrong pastors in their life, because they themselves don't have the right intentions. So have the right intentions and be selfless. And that goes back to this concept of somebody asking, you don't feel, like there is power and, activity. Well, sometimes it's where you are coming from, and I can understand that we're always talking about renewing of our mind. I remember also, I'm always going back there because that's where I started my journey. We did a lot for Christ in university time, right? So I believe that was even my intention when I joined the church. I was in publicity team, and one of my responsibilities at that time was to take a poster and put it on the notice board. Okay? That was one of my core responsibilities, just like how you have Wednesday services and all of that. Now, I'm painting a picture here. The particular location I was as a student who was, in engineering there, was a place where there were big boys and big girls. You understand? Okay? I know that some of us might be able to relate to it because we always say that peer pressure doesn't stop when you finish university or high school till now, right? So I will have to be posting that. Now, where I post that is a public place. So fine boys and fine girls are seeing me trying to post and put nail and put pin that come to service. Sometimes it could be embarrassing because me too, I want to form big boy. Let's be real. So, but my intentions, every time I remind myself, is it Jesus I'm serving? Is the intent, a selfless intent. Once your intentions and you are being authentic to self, it becomes a defense in your life. So, going back to where you are expecting or you feel some spiritual lethargy, it depends. So, you need to find out, right? For a while, a lot of us feel that if a pastor has not laid his hands on me, like I'm sure in Crosspoint Church, I can't remember if I've laid hands or anything on anyone, maybe once, twice in like 6 months. So you need to first of all renew your mind that some of the things that you look at as what will make or create change in your life are misplaced. It's just like we always say, and we have been dealing with in this effective living, religious mindsets that you have picked up from customs. We talked about and we've shared here about someone who used to cut sausages at the two ends and just realized that, why was I doing it? It's just because someone said it. And when you found out, it was not really a big deal. It's just because initially they didn't have a big pan, maybe their grandmother or whatever. So, but people take on things that if this is not happening, it means there's no encounter. Well, at different seasons of your life, different things are spiritual at different seasons of your life. What do I mean? At some point, what the Spirit of the Lord is telling you is diligence. To you, that is the spiritual thing you need to do more at that time. It's not to fast. That time is to be spiritual. I realized that at a particular point in time when we were, young men that had were discussing that we just gave birth or we had a child and all that. And we were saying that we don't pray enough because we came from a place where we were praying hard. But at that point in time, what we now realize that probably God wanted from us was probably supporting the kids, supporting, your wife supporting your spouse in diapers movement and wiping pool. It's not spiritual to you, but if you, I'm not saying that all those prayers are not important, but at that point in time, if you had to stop 2 hours prayer and move it to 1 hour or 30 minutes so that you can be early, so that you can work harder, or so that you can support a spouse because there's an addition to the family, that time or that thing is very spiritual to you at the time. So at this point in time, when we are talking about church, different topics come at different seasons of the year or different times in the year. Believe that whatever topic is being taught is critical and important for you because God knows what is good for you more than you know what's
It's
good
good
for
for
you.
yourself. Absolutely. Thank you. Please, a round of applause for that. I feel like that was very powerful. That's a blessing. Knowing that at different points in your life, what is spiritual differs. Basically, I think that's really profound. So the next scenario that we have here is about serving but feeling overlooked. Um, it says, I've been serving in my church for months, helping setting up chairs, cleaning after service, and volunteering when there's an event. I do it with joy, but sometimes I feel invisible. Leaders never call my name when they appreciate people, and others who joined recently are already being noticed. I know I'm not supposed to serve for recognition, but honestly, it hurts. A small part of me wonders if I should stop giving so much of myself since it seems like nobody sees me. What would you do? So I'm going to throw this to both PL and Toby. Who wants to go first? Toby, please go first.
All right. Well, I think the question you would have to ask yourself is why are you doing what you are doing? And I think we have all gotten to that point before. Even leaders sometimes just feel like maybe somebody just snaps at you and you were literally almost killing yourself for something for the church, and they just send you one message and you're like, do you even know
I have been
what? and
where I'm coming from.
and you now need to ask yourself the question that am I doing it for recognition? Like I said, it's good to it's okay to accept how you feel, and you need to feel normal for feeling how you feel because you're a human being, and things may be things may be uncomfortable sometimes. You just feel like you're taking for granted. So that's why I say you need to ask yourself, and it will really help you. Why do I do what I'm doing? And first of all, when you can acknowledge that I'm not doing it to be recognized or for applaud or anything, it's service unto God and to God's people and to God's community, then it really makes things clearer and better for you, right? Because you now shift your applaud and appreciation and everything to God. Obviously, God is not going to clap for you, but you now look at the impact. So, like I said, I would look at what I'm doing when I see people outside eating and they're smiling and they're happy. Like it makes me feel like, oh, I was part of this thing. So that's my applaud for me. I would look at it when somebody they need something and I'm able to provide it, or it's raining and there are umbrellas available and it came from my car. So I don't need pastor to know that it's me that brought the umbrella out of my car. But the fact that people did not get drenched before they got into the church is enough applaud and satisfaction for me that I was a part of this good thing that has happened. And when you shift your mind and your perspective towards that way, that what I'm doing is for God's community, I'm impacting it, I'm doing something positive to it, then I want to believe that that should be enough applaud for you. So you just need to ask yourself that question. Why am I doing what I'm doing? And really, when you now find out, because it's okay to find out that you are doing it to be noticed, you're a human being is fine. But when you find out, you will now reroute yourself and encourage yourself in the Lord.
Okay,
Yeah.
to add to what she said before PL comes on, yes, I feel like some people don't even set out doing it to be noticed, but I think people just need to understand that these things are normal. We're all human beings, and even people that are married, because there's a motivation, they always find a way to work through their issues. So it's not just understanding that, okay, this is why I'm doing this. It is also knowing that you can communicate, like she has already said, but do it in a constructive way, in a loving way, because at the end of the day, your motivation is even bigger than you yourself. It's bigger than everybody here. It's the gospel. So thank you for that, Deaconess Toby. So PL, would you like to say anything to people who feel like they are giving their all as workers, but they're not rewarded as much as they should be, or they feel they should be?
What is in heaven, but just isn't. Yes. It again, I think Toby has highlighted that around motives. But I know there's this thing around pastors can be biased, or there are certain people that are in the good books, or there's favoritism here and there. I think again it goes back to your selfless and your authentic desire. I'm not taking away the responsibilities of a church in terms of them honoring everyone. And sometimes when you feel that maybe this is being a little bit extreme, the first thing is to communicate. I remember there's someone who happens to be a PA, was doing some kind of PA work for me then around the church and ministry, and the person is still a friend till to date, right? And I think I said something hurtful, or the person was supposed to do one or two things. They just left it undone, and they were prioritizing something else, and they didn't give me feedback, and I was not happy with that. So I said some words that probably would have been hurtful, even though they were true, but was too maybe a little bit too harsh. And the person later on came to meet me and said, well, I wanted to, when things had calmed down a little bit, I want to highlight what I feel about this. So, as adults, those kinds of events will be happening. So, if you feel probably, at least I should have been acknowledged, not like that's what you are doing it entirely for. You can approach your leader and say, I feel you shouldn't be shy about that. You are mature, we are all adults. Everybody needs some level of, respect and honor. I felt that they didn't honor me when they were honoring others. We all did the work. I felt a little bit sidelined. And you will now hear the perspective. It could be an omission because everybody is a human being without being intentional about it. It's not that they targeted you. And that way you even build a better relationship with your leader. So we realize that you need to do that. But you also need to give room for your leaders, just like how the leaders are giving room for you. I remember a while ago, someone would come and say, it was even when we were in another church where somebody approached me that there was someone in need, that they needed something, and they met the church, and the church said they should follow a protocol. And the person was angry. This is what the church is created for, to help people. I said, yes, I agree, but the leaders and the structure of the church is not omnipotent and omnipresent and omnifinancial, right? The truth is, there has to also be process, because as a pastor too, I must tell you, I'm not saying you are like that, but what our eyes too have seen, our mouth cannot tell it all. There are people that have come with the sole aim to dupe and to manipulate and steal and just make you feel they'll start to come to church, they'll start to join. So people also have to monitor you over time to build that reputation. It's just what it is, even in the workplace. So don't expect leadership to just, as you just come, they just say, you be pastor, you be evangelist. We have to see consistency over time. And if your intent is right, You will not be even worried about it. There are some certain people that are pastors today or leaders today. I remember when they came to visit me, I don't need to mention it. They just said, anything you want me to do in the church, that's what I want to do. And now they are pastors or leaders. So you just come with a right intent and God will take care of the rest. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So for me, I feel like this has been enlightening. This has been a point where I could pick up a couple of things here and there for me to use going forward. However, as church members, I feel like we should also start, it's not just about the listening, it's also about practice and being intentional about the things that we have all discussed today. So, by a show of hands, do I see anybody that feels confident to walk up to somebody else after service today to introduce themselves? Wow. Remember we said yes. Thank you. Please, a round of applause for PJJ. See, Princess. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And if you are still having difficulty, maybe the next easy step would be to walk toward media. Ask for Sheun and Temilolu. It won't cost you a lot. Maybe some teasing here, some dry jokes there, but they would encourage you and make you laugh. They're at the back in jackets. So, yeah. Okay, so do we have any questions from any members of the church? By a show of hands, we're going to pass the mic to you. Oh, thank you. PJJ.
Yes, so I wanted to go back to that question somebody asked about spiritual depth, and you want to feel like there is fire and all that stuff. So first of all, I want to say that there is a place of self leadership in this whole thing. And if you've noticed, this church is not like the regular kind, like where there's a man of God who wants to try to prove a point and show himself, show off that he's a powerful guy, and all that stuff. Well, what I want to say is that we are raising disciples. We are raising ministers. So I want everyone, in case you are like that here, stop seeing yourself as, I want to come in every Sunday, let them lay hands on me, let them help me, like
Prophecy.
and that kind of thing. See yourself as you are actually the one that we are raising to become a disciple. Does anybody agree? You are the one that we are, like, you are the one that we want to make a minister. Do you guys get? Like, I want everyone to, like, change, like, how you see yourself. It's not the regular kind of church that we want to do drama and all of that so that we can make you think, there's power here, depth, and all that. You are the one that is supposed to go out there.
Amen.
The estate you live, the office you are, look for the opportunities around you where you can also, like, demonstrate that fire, depth, and all that. So, for example, October 1st is what? Wednesday, next week. Yeah? You can imagine that it will be a public holiday Yeah. And if you are like me, from like last week, I've been thinking that I've not done like personal evangelism in a long while. Because I, I mean, I've been busy with quite some things in the last 1 month or so. And if you are like me, I've been thinking that October 1st is Wednesday. There will be a public holiday on that day. Midweek service will hold in the evening and all that. I'm trying to give an example of how somebody who leads themselves in all spiritual things. I'm trying to give an example of how such person thinks. So I'm really thinking that maybe I'll go to the office in Lekki. I would pray like from early in the morning to like noon or something. Then I would come out, walk on the road and all that, preach the gospel to someone. I'm already thinking of how is it possible? Can I find somebody to minister the Holy Ghost baptism on? Can I get somebody saved? Can I do all of that before midweek service on Wednesday? So I just give that as an example to let each one know that that's how we should all think. And it can just be that you will just think that, okay, Saturday mornings every week, can I, in my estate or where I live or where I'm going to be, can I find somebody to preach to? Can I lay hands on the sick? So I'm saying when it comes to what the person asked about spiritual depth and you want to feel the fire and all that, no, you go out there, find somebody to also set on fire, preach the gospel to somebody, lay hands on someone, invite someone to church, and all of that. I hope someone understood.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more
Yeah.
questions? Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. We have a
Let's
number of people. Can we have some mics? Okay, so we have three people. Princess.
deep ones.
Okay. Yes, please.
Deep
Let's just
question.
start. with Princess.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for this session. Very relatable. Trust me, wow, I don't know why didn't we get opportunities to also send our own feedback. Anyway, hear me. Okay, so I think I can relate with all of the complaints, all of the scenarios that you painted. Very relatable. Number one, we are human beings before we became Christians, right? So I used to have this issue, like almost all the issues, like especially when PL acknowledges some people that stays on land. I'm not acknowledged. I'll go and cry in the car. And but again, it all has to do with maturity and spiritual maturity, first of all, and intent, right? We're talking about mind renewal. But my question is simple. Being that, right, we are also human in the different departments, how do we manage um, this maturity with the expectation? Because, for example, Toby gave an example of someone saying, "Oh, I've not been coming to church for like 2 weeks because I was sick and um, you didn't notice and all of that. So I want to leave." I can relate with that person because if I am, actively somewhere and all of a sudden I'm not being seen, right? They don't see me, and I come back and nobody even noticed that I was gone. of course I'll feel somehow. But on the other hand, too, everyone has things that they are dealing with. If I'm the one that someone messages on the weekday when I am like, it's 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 scattered and tough, I would also feel somehow. But I think my question here is right here in Cross Point. How are we going to balance that? Because it can be extreme, right? When this person is expecting this and this other person is expecting this, but we have a responsibility. Being if you're in hospitality, for example, and people know that you're in hospitality, they have something that they expect from you. Even though yes, you have your personal life, but can there be a way that we can sort of balance it just so that when people complain or talk about it, doesn't look like they are doing these things so that they'll be seen. That's just
All right. Thank you for that question, Princess. And it's real. It happens. One of the things is why we are talking about community, and you need to help the church reduce your expectations too. And if I don't come to church, let's just say I'm not Toby, but the people that are my friends in this church. If I don't come to church, those are the people, and they don't ask me what's going on. Those are the people that I have issues with. Like, you didn't see me in church. I didn't tell you I was not coming to church. But then again, because of the relationship I've built with them, if I'm not coming to church, they will know. And I will not really now put my expectations on anybody else because I've been able to grow a community with them. So that's why some churches will have like maybe groups and all those things. So once you have those people, and that is your responsibility as a believer, which was what I was trying to say at the beginning, it's also your responsibility to plug yourself in the community. Because God is so intentional. He knows all these things. He knows that human beings are not like pastors say, we're not omnipresent. Sometimes we don't remember anything. And it's not intentional. It's just what it is. So because of that, he has advised and put us in something called the church, which is the body of Christ, to be able to plug yourself in. And it's also your responsibility to let people know why you're not showing up. Why are you not coming? Tell us so that we can know. Because sometimes I can just feel you're sleeping on your bed and I woke up 7 a.m. So I'm not saying, oh, why didn't you come? And I say, well, I'm just eating at home. I didn't feel like coming. I will not ask you. I might not ask you again because if I see your pattern, I'll just be like, she's online church. It's me that carried myself here. So you need to also, it's your responsibility to sometimes to let people know, okay, I'm sick, I'm working, I'm this, I'm that. So that's why I'm not being able to come to church. We like feedback and would also make it a culture to try as much as possible to be reaching out to people. We're always talking about it in the leaders that it's not only even the responsibility of hospitality. We should try, call people, ask them why they're not coming and all those things. But again, it's also your responsibility to create that community for yourself. And it's like in a family, for example, in my family, the thing about it is that if you go out and you're really late, nobody is trying to say, come, you just send a message, I'll be coming back late so everybody can sleep. No, you shouldn't be angry that, oh, you people are sleeping, you didn't know where I was. No, you're an adult. Pick up your phone and tell us, I am coming late, or this is happening, I need help, and all those type of things. And it just really, than me now being angry, nobody checked about me. So we need to balance it and be very, very real about it. And also the church will do better and departments to reach out.
What I want to talk about here is a little bit spiritual because it is spiritual. When you know certain things have value, you'll be able to make sacrifices for those things, right? Remember that ultimately, yes, we understand you are a human being and you require some level of affection and all of that. But ultimately, coming to church is a spiritual responsibility and has spiritual benefits. Let's not lose out on that too. It's real. We might be having fun, but coming to church and being part of a family, Psalm 133, verse 3, let's put it up, so that we understand that I'm speaking now, I'm sitting down, but just think of pulpit. I'm speaking now as a pastor because I know it's looking like we are chill and everything is still spiritual here. But remember, the Bible says he puts the lonely in families. Many times, the trajectory of your life, your purpose, strength, capacity, influence. There are many of us here, and we know it. We don't need to start to say one after the other, that just because they plug themselves into a church genuinely, not with any intent, their lives have changed in terms of finances as well, and other miracles are happening in their lives. But that's not, so we don't say here that, okay, join toilet washing department so that you can provoke $1 million breakthrough. We don't do that. But when you have a genuine heart and you are serving God from a genuine place, you will just plug yourself in a family and you will see supernatural things happening in your life. You will see clarity. You will see people that encourage you and tell you wise things to do into critical phases of your life. So it is really spiritual. This is hard for me to see. Okay. Behold, how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Next verse. Can you put it in NLT? For harmony is as precious as the anointing oil that pours over Aaron's head and ran down in his bed and onto the borders of his robe. Next verse. Harmony is as refreshing as the dew from Mount Hermon that falls on the mountains of Zion, and there the Lord has pronounced his blessing, even life everlasting. Where 2 or 3 are gathered, I'm in their midst. So if in isolation the enemy thrives, in a supernatural divine community of people with right intent, the goodness of God will manifest. It's the truth. It's supernatural. And many people have seen, or certain times that you are going through certain things in your life, the real thing for you to do at that moment is to plug yourself into a family, and someone will encourage you, someone will empower you, or give you a wise counsel. Something happened to Paul. He was beaten and left for dead. The Bible says that a group of people just gathered around him. They didn't even say whether they prayed, but I believe that that gathering around him speaks of community and harmony. He jacked back to life. He was filled with energy, and the next day he was doing great things. You will be surprised some of the things you will achieve personally, in your spiritual work, and even in your life work, by just wisely choosing a theme. Because certainly I would say, like Pastor JJ has said, this church, unfortunately, or no, I would say it's fortunately. Fortunately, is that the church you belong to doesn't micromanage. Doesn't every time go and say, okay, before you travel, come and ask pastor. When you want to born twins, come and find out whether it's the will of the Lord. We allow people, because once you are taught, remember what we said in Romans 12, as you renew your mind, you have to value it, that this renewing of my mind, this plugging myself into a community, this right intent and authenticity that I have is actually changing lives. So when we say that there is no power here, we don't like to boast and share, oh, we bought this one, we did this one. There is power. And what we call power sometimes in churches is just that people shout, that's not power. Break chain, that's not power. Power is changing lives, contentment, fruitfulness, authenticity, living in peace. Those things have lasting effect than somebody that shouted and came back to listen.
Thank you so much, Theo. That blessed us. Okay, the next question.
Good afternoon. I want to say thank you for this wonderful session. So, my questions are two, and I'll try to explain it so that you'll be able to answer. My first question is: at what point can you tell yourself that I need to change my place of worship? Because I will say for myself, I think most believers have those struggles. You know you're not growing in a place, or the place is not blessing your life, or because of community that you've built over the years, you just feel, let's still vibe this community since it's still there, even if the spirituality is not there. So at what point do you change your place of worship? That's the first question. Then the second question is, when you change your place of worship to another place, I'm also using my own self as an example, and then you are coming from a place of so much vibe and energy, like when you're in the presence of God, you can misbehave, if I'm permitted to use that word, misbehave in terms of praising God and all. And then you are coming to a place where you're seeing everybody, so this song is vibing now, why are we not vibing it? And everybody's like, and then you tend to like look at these people, you want to go extra and look at them, and you see that these people, they actually have this vibe. So why are we like trying to reduce the vibe because we are in this environment, and when we move to another environment, we're all vibing? I don't know if it's clear.
Very good. I think I'll answer the first one. Yeah, maybe. So personal for me too. Unfortunately, mine is different. I came from a very quiet vibe to this is actually a lot of vibe for me. Like Crossman is a lot of vibe for me. I came from Anglican Communion. We don't vibe. We just, sing and go home and pray. But I've always gone to that church all my life, and some of the human beings I know now as friends, and some have even turned family, I knew them from that church. I was born there, baptized there, confirmation there, all the spiritual activities happened there. I even became a leader there in the youth church. And what happened was, like, there was nothing wrong, but I just, like you said, I felt like I wasn't growing. To be honest, maybe I was growing and I did not know. But because I don't mind anymore. But at that age and that stage, I wanted to be with younger people. I wanted to be with people that I could relate with, and I wanted messages that could be very relatable to my life. So it wasn't a thing from I hate this church or anything. I just felt I wanted more. But I think the main thing in that moving to another church is you have to be careful, because I wasn't even exposed to the gospel then. But what was very important to me is that I didn't want to fall in a bad place, because I knew that there was a concept of feeling like the grass is greener on the other side, but I knew that thing was very dangerous. So I was just taking my time, and I had prayed that if God really wanted me to leave that place, then something that is very right will come to me, and I was not going to leave until that happened. So then somebody exposed me to the gospel. I didn't even go to that person's church. Then I now found Crosspoint, but I wasn't rushing it. It wasn't a malicious thing that, I hate this church, I want to leave. It was like I just felt like I needed to grow, and I was going to be patient. So I found what genuinely. In fact, I don't think Pastor knows this or the leadership, but there was a time I was doing 2 services. I'll go for morning service there. I was trying to manage some people's expectations too, and also manage Crosspoint expectations. So I will go there first, then I will come here. Then I now had to face the decision, what do I really want to do? Which one is the one I'm really going for? And I was able to make that decision. But I think what's important in that decision is be careful and where you live in. and take your time to find was because so many people fall into the bad hands.
Okay, so to add to what she said, I think that it's also important that we consider the actual reason that we're moving. For me, I was in a good church, right? But aside the fact that I wanted to serve, I wanted to be a part of community. I think there were just some things that I couldn't grasp. There were some things that seemed transactional in my former church, and because I was genuinely thirsty for the true gospel. So that was what was able to make me move, without any resentment or without holding back. So I think your intentions should really matter. It's not, I think things like the vibe and all those other things might not be as important as the message. What's the message that is being preached? For me, that's just a personal perspective. And once I found out that I could see results, I could see the change that I was looking for, and knew that it was the right place to be. And if there were now other issues or other things that I had a little bit of problem with, that's why I'm a member of the church. I would, of course, talk about it in a very loving way. So that's from my end. PL.
I think we need to find out. We are not vibing here, right? Is